Hi, you're listening to The Real Truth About You, and this is a podcast where we try to help you to become the best you that you can be so that you can live a full and abundant and a very blessed life. And really, who doesn't want that? I'm Will Sinclair, and I'm host for this podcast here. And I guess this is going to be like a quickie podcast. It's kind of a follow-up to my last podcast where I introduced Chris Dukas to you, and it was something that he said. I was re-listening to that podcast, and it was something that he said at the end about if you feel a passion or a calling to something, then don't be afraid, just go ahead and do it. Just go do it. And I want to talk to you a little bit about an email I got from John Lee Dumas. And John Lee Dumas is a podcaster who I kind of admire. He talks about entrepreneurship, and he has a really good podcast called Entrepreneur on Fire. And you can get that. I think it's eofire.com, and you can get that podcast. I'm sure you can Google it anywhere. And I really respect him. He interviews a lot of entrepreneurs. But anyway, one of the things he does is you can subscribe to his like tips and things like that. And he sent out this email just recently, and it was about Stephen King. And it wasn't about Stephen King himself. It was about what Stephen King represents and does. Now, whether you like Stephen King, the author, or whether you don't like his stuff, he writes a lot of like horror fiction or thriller fiction and kind of on the dark side. And he also writes some kind of like almost science fiction. And I actually personally like a lot of his books, not all of them, but I like a lot of his books. But one thing Stephen King says in his book on writing, and his book on writing has helped a lot of writers, is he talks about that the best way to write, and I'm a writer as well as a podcaster and photographer and things like that. And he says the best way to write is to write, right? He says writers write. And he said that in this email that John sent out, he was talking about the difference between amateurs and professionals. And they were talking about amateurs wait for inspiration while professionals just go out and do it. And that's something I learned as a writer. You cannot wait for inspiration to happen. You just have to go out and do it. You have to start. If you're sitting with a blank page, and I'm coming to a point with this whole thing, but if you're sitting with a blank page, then what you need to do is just type a word. Just type a word and keep typing that word until something comes out. And if you are like this podcast, I just start it and I just head into it headlong, dive in, head over heels, and I start talking and something comes out. I don't wait for inspiration. I have what's called I think it's called a tickle list or something. And it's all different kind of topics that I can talk on that relate to my passion of helping you be the best you can be by discovering the real you and living that to the full. And so this is one of those things. I just picked out this email, thought I'm going to talk on this. But I didn't wait for another email to come. I didn't wait to think, well, what am I going to say about this? You just turn on record and record it. And I think the whole point of this is the difference between an amateur and a professional is that a professional just gets out and does it. A songwriter, an amateur songwriter will wait for inspiration, wait for the right moment, wait for something to trigger that inspiration. The same thing with an amateur painter. They wait until they're inspired or they feel like painting. Whereas a professional, somebody who's doing it for a living, they make their money from this kind of thing. A professional just goes out and does it. A professional can churn out songs by the dozen if they have to. Not all going to be great, but they're going to find a hit around there somewhere. And the same with an artist. An artist is going to paint or draw or do whatever they do until something comes. And the same with a sculptor. They might start with an empty lump of clay or something, but they might have an idea what they want to do, or they might not. They just start. And that's the difference between an amateur and a professional. But I'm not here to talk to you about that per se, because you might not be in the professional songwriting or photography or anything like that. But I want to apply this to your life, to things that go on in your life. And it's about just starting. It's about just doing. I had talked about in other podcasts about being aware of something. Well, I became aware that I was nitpicking my wife recently. And I'm talking recently. This is summer 2016. And I was nitpicking things about my wife. It was things that were bugging me. Or even when we were in company, I would joke about something she did that was kind of funny, silly. But I noticed I was starting to nitpick, and I was starting to say things that would almost degrade her. And I became aware of that. I don't know why I was doing it, but I became aware of that fact. And so while I'm waiting, or not even analyze why I'm doing it, what I'm doing is not good for her. So instead of me waiting till I feel like changing or analyzing or thinking what's the cause of this, I immediately said, when I became aware of it, I told her and I said, I know I've been doing this. I know I've been nitpicking at you, and I don't know why I'm doing it. So I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to try at least to stop doing that. And that's what I'm trying to talk to you about today. Sometimes we just have to make that change. We have to do something. It's like the difference between an amateur and a professional. Maybe there's a forgiveness issue. Maybe you have to forgive someone in your life. Maybe it's forgiving yourself or start the process. And like I've said before, forgiveness is not an emotion. It's a decision. It's an action word. And so if you feel like you have to forgive someone, there's no time like now. Don't be the amateur that waits, because you only hurt yourself. The more you procrastinate, the more you're hurting yourself, not the person so much that you're not forgiving. You're doing more damage to yourself. And it's the same as even if you have a passion or a desire and you've been procrastinating that, you've been waiting for the right moment. I'm not saying there's no value in waiting. Sometimes you just have to wait because the timing is not right. But there's a difference between that and just procrastinating because of fear, or procrastinating because, well, you're putting it off till tomorrow, or you don't feel up to doing it. But if you've got something that you've been putting off, don't be the amateur who's waiting to be influenced or the feeling to come. Just go ahead and do it. That's how I started this podcast. I sat in front of a microphone, and I've said it time and time again. I turn on the record button and I start talking, despite my fear of speaking into a microphone, because you're sitting there listening to me. But really, I have to imagine you sitting there listening to me. And I just get into that point where it becomes habitual, where I can almost actually see you. Right now it's getting to a point. This is my 22nd episode of The Real Truth About You. And I'm getting to the point where I'm becoming comfortable with speaking. It's becoming habitual, the style and everything. I went from the amateur waiting to be inspired to do this and motivated to do it, to just doing it. And so I'm saying the same thing to you. Just go ahead and start. Don't wait for the emotion to come. Don't wait for that change in your life. Don't wait to start that passion. I know, like I said before, sometimes the timing's not right and you have to wait. But if that's all it is, if it's not that, if it's just you're procrastinating, you're just waiting, you haven't got around to it, then go get yourself around to it, whatever the heck that thing is, and get started. Don't be the amateur. Be the professional and go out and start. Like John Lee Dumas says, go and start. And that's what I'm saying to you. Go and start. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate till tomorrow. You don't even know how much time you have left. Get started now. Get out there and get it done. Thanks for listening today. This has been a quick moment with you. And some of you will be saying, wow, that's good. I'm glad it's just a quick moment. And because some of my podcasts go on a little bit longer, especially my interviews, but you've been listening to the real truth about you, and you can get more information and more downloads hopefully soon at the real truth about you, therealtruthaboutyou.com. And you know what? Please help me and to get this message out to people who either don't have the internet or whatever. You can burn it onto CD, you can put it onto a stick drive, or share this on Facebook, or promote it to a friend, email it to someone. I don't care if you download it and email it to someone, or you send them a link, or whatever you do. But help us to get this word out, because remember, when you help someone else, you're also helping yourself. Thank you so much for listening. I love you tons. God loves you tons. And remember, have an awesome, awesome day, because you rock.